that time of the year when the trees dance to the rhythm of the wind that blows across North and Western Africa from November through March. Sunny and hot during the day, cold and windy at night. Yes, it is the Harmattan season. Are you feeling it on your skin already? For those with pre-existing medical conditions such as sickle cell anemia, respiratory conditions including asthma, pneumonia, cough and catarrh, it is a season to take extra care. And on this episode of Health Options, we shall help you with the best options to overcome the weather with the help of a specialist. Plus, Nature's Corner, where we bring you God's gift to mankind. Welcome to Health Options on the network service of the NTA. I am Salwa Khalil Ibrahim. I see some of you wearing face masks, often even without any advisory. I also wonder what is with the gloves and socks all about. Did I hear you say it is the Harmattan? No doubt, every season has its peculiar effect on the general well-being, some of which might not be unconnected with the global warming. That is, however, a topic for another day. But today, our focus is on Harmattan. While some are able to get by easily, the weather could be tough for others. In which side of the divide are you? Are you asthmatic? Do you have constant crises during this period? Or you easily fall ill throughout the season? Not to worry, on Health Options, we always watch out for you and your well-being. And as usual, we have a specialist who will give us more insight as well as important tips on how to get by the Harmattan season. All this and more after this time out. Joining me now is one of our regulars, a consultant family physician, Dr.Agbor Ebuta. Thanks for joining us, Doctor.
Thank you for having me. It's always a pleasure to be here.
Okay. I know you're not a weatherman, but how would you describe the weather and common ailments we experience at this period?
The weather is, as it is now, is called the Harmattan period, because we all know that the Harmattan period in Nigeria stretches between about sometime in November and as far as early March or towards the end of March, depending on the part of Nigeria you find yourself. And it's characterized by dry, cold and dusty patterns in the atmosphere. And of course, apart from the discomforting nature of this Harmattan weather, there are some health implications. But to tell this story, to drive home the point, I will tell you a story. So the story is about the Harmattan man. So the Harmattan man came into my clinic one day and he was coughing out mucoid yellowish material. When I moved a bit backwards to inspect his mouth, I found out that his mouth was dry and he was dehydrated. And then I decided that, well, it was time for me to examine him. I took off his shirt and I saw that he was having significant difficulty breathing. And I suspected at that point that he may have had a respiratory infection in addition, maybe a chest infection or a pneumonia, or he probably had asthma, an attack, acute exacerbation of asthma, or had now had an infection, a super infection of a chronic obstructive airway disease, which is usually a chronic condition that gets worse with the Harmattan. He complained of generalized body ache and all of that. And when I took his blood sample, I confirmed that he had sickle cell anemia and therefore had what? An acute vaso-occlusive attack. So this story of the Harmattan man tells the story of the key health problems, issues like dry skin, dry lips, respiratory tract infection like cough and catarrh, pneumonia, asthmatic attack, allergic conditions, and a whole lot of others. Even patients that have sickle cell tend to have higher episodes of sickle cell during the Harmattan period.
Okay, now, having described the Harmattan man, now, are we having more of them in the hospital these days, with related conditions?
Most definitely. In fact, we are seeing a lot of upper respiratory tract infections, people who have cough and catarrh. And it will interest you to know that even the so-called human metapneumovirus that is suspected to have broken out in certain parts of the world, like China, Europe, in UK, in France and Germany, that are reporting cases. These are all conditions that usually break up during the Harmattan period. Remember, even COVID. COVID was a respiratory tract infection, and it broke up around December or towards the end of December, November, December, and spilled over to the early part of the year. So that a lot, we are seeing a lot of respiratory tract infection, definitely. Of course, we're also seeing patients coming with dry nose, nosebleeds, and a lot of all of that. And then because dehydration is an issue right now, and dehydration is a major triggering factor for patients with sickle cell anemic disease. Indeed, we are seeing more patients with vaso-occlusive crisis presenting in the outpatient or as emergencies in the hospital.
Okay, I was going to come to the issue of the viruses. Does that have anything to do with the immune system?
Yes. Why do the cases of viruses spike? That's an interesting question, and it's a question that has received significant attention. There are multiple factors. Yes, the factor that is affected that is based on the patient has to do with the immunity of the patient. And the immunity of the patient is generally important. Now, the way the nose, the anatomy of the nose is that your nose is structured in such a way that air is supposed to flow in. But as air flows in, there's a natural mechanism that filters the air and ensures that injurious materials do not get in. This natural mechanism includes increased flow of blood, a thin lining, a thin mucosa, discharge of mucus to trap any particles. That's why when the mucus is consistently secreted, it traps foreign bodies, particles, and all of that. And guess what? When these particles are trapped by the mucus, the body has some chemicals called immunoglobulins, cytokines. These chemicals are now within the mucus and attack these viruses and bacteria that are supposed to cause problem, and then you sneeze and discharge them out of the body. So that's how it's supposed to work. But during the period of the Harmattan, the weather is very dry. When the weather goes dry, the mucosa, that is a lining within the nostrils, also get dry. That blood flow, that increase of cytokines, that increase of mucus, that increase of immunoglobulins that are supposed to go there and kind of protect the entry part of the nose is weakened. So then you have an adjusted immunity. That's why viral cases are typically higher. That's also in addition to during the cold weather, because of the lower temperatures, viruses multiply more efficiently. Because of lower temperatures, the sterilizing effect of the sun and high temperature is also lost to a large extent.
And I guess those viruses, even the catarrh, the cough, they are easily communicable, is it not, Doctor?
Fantastic. Yes, they are easily communicable. There are over 200 viruses, plus or minus, that account for upper respiratory tract infections. Yes, you have all viruses. You have influenza, parainfluenza, echoviruses, coronaviruses, the human metapneumoviruses, and a couple of others that are known and implicated. Now, the thing about it is that if somebody has a cold and sneezes on you, you can get it. If the person talks to you on close contact, you can get it. If the person sneezes on their hand and shakes your hand, and you raise your finger and you touch your face, and it will surprise you to know that we touch our faces several times a day without even knowing, unconsciously. So you shake somebody who has cough and catarrh or viral infection, and you unconsciously move your hair or touch your face. You've basically been exposed. That's why we had millions of people who were easily contacted the COVID.
And little wonder more people are wearing, a lot of people rather, are wearing face masks these days.
Absolutely. There's been a spike in that, and that is a very healthy public health behavior. It's a responsible public health behavior, because if you have flu and you put a face mask, your chances of transmitting it to those around you significantly is reduced.
Okay, we'll take a break now. When we come back, we'll talk more about that. Join us again.
Kuka that's the name in Hausa.
And that is call it Oshe.
In Yoruba.
Oshe, Igi Oshe.
Okay, so I know it's Kuka.
I am delighted to have you join us on Health Options, the program that not only tracks government policies on health.
The total cholesterol is made up of some components. The high density lipoprotein, which is the good cholesterol, the low density hypoprotein, which is the bad.
Cervical cancer, a type of cancer that develops in a woman's cervix.
There were opportunities for women to get screened for both cervical and breast cancer, maybe up to 30,000, but we'll be having figures of 5,000.
Just joined us, the program is Health Options on the NTA, and we have been talking about the Harmattan season and how to overcome the weather condition. And I have been speaking with our friend and a regular in the house, Dr. Agbor. Many thanks for being there, Doctor.
Thank you for having me.
Okay, so now let's talk about those with pre-existing conditions, like you mentioned earlier, sickle cell, respiratory, among diseases, among others. Now, how do they go by this weather?
For some of them, I would say it's quite tough because we do know that allergic conditions are on the rise during the Harmattan season because obviously spring, pollen, and all of that. Patients who have asthma tend to have more asthmatic attacks because, of course, the air is dry, callous, and there's wind and dusty and all of that. So it carries a lot of potential allergens. Allergens are substances that are foreign to the body that can stimulate an allergic reaction. That's why you call them allergens. So patients who are asthmatic are more likely to have more frequent asthmatic attacks. So they tend to need their inhalers more often, and then tend to need some form of intervention more often.
Doctor.
Yeah.
Now, for other individuals now, how can one boost their immune system against any type of virus or outbreaks, especially at this period?
Okay, so in boosting the immune system, I would want to approach it on two groups of persons. People that have health problems that weaken their immune system, things like diabetes and cancer and all of those things. And then people that do not have health problems but are still at risk. So those people who have health problems, things like diabetes, things like cancer, they should get treatment that, or HIV, they should be on medications that reduces the impact of those ailments on their health system. So if you are diabetic, obviously you want to be able to take your medications and control your blood sugar, because once your blood sugar is controlled as a diabetic, your immunity stays good. If you have any infections, chronic infections like HIV, you should be on medications and ensure that your viral load is low, and that protects your immunity. So you are able to stand and overcome the effect of this infection. In people who do not have any health conditions that mitigates their capacity of their immunity to stem or put away diseases, these kind of patients can boost and enhance their immunity by some simple activities like taking healthy diets. Some of those healthy diets should include fruits and vegetables, especially rich in vitamin C, because we do know that vitamin C is critical for the production of certain chemicals within the body, things like collagen. And collagen are the framework, the basis for which your mucosal lining of your airway is kept intact. So if your mucosal lining is not intact, it is easily breached, infections can occur. But generally speaking, eating a healthy diet, maintaining significant hygiene, ensuring that if you have a chronic health condition, you are protected, you are taking the treatment you require to maintain your immunity at a certain level, increases your chance of mitigating the impact of these diseases or these conditions.
Okay.
Yep.
And in cases of prevention now, and God forbid any outbreak of any kind of virus now, especially in our healthcare facilities, What are the likelihood that we are able to contain these, conditions?
Well, the truth about it is that yes, we do have a challenge with our health system. Is not optimal the way we would want it, but definitely the Minister of Health is doing all he can with the various health teams all over the country to do what is necessary. However, your question about whether we can contain it. So we do have also what you call a natural barrier. Most of our population, Nigeria has one of the youngest population in the world. So the younger your population, the greater the resilience. So that's why one of the reasons why we were not so impacted by COVID. More than 90% of Nigerians are under the age of 60 years or there, plus or minus. So that alone is a protecting factor for the population. But you do have a small subset of our population, people who are under 5, people who are above 60, 65 years old, and people who have low immunity. Now, our focus as a health system approach that is cost efficient will be to focus on those patients. That way we can pool our limited resources and direct it in the direction that the need is greatest. But I do think that the Nigerian spirit is very resilient. We have gained a lot of experience when we fought COVID and won COVID. And I believe that if we deploy some of these experiences, we may not be overly challenged with dealing with future outbreaks.
Most certainly, Doctor. Now, on a final note now, and as a family physician, I want you to give us some key do's and don'ts during this season.
Okay, so the key do's and don'ts, I will take it in two ways. So if you remember when I talked about the Harmattan man and where we looked at all the components, the health issues, when it comes to dehydration, we should all be properly well hydrated. We should do between
Take a lot of water?
Yes, 2 to 3 liters of water, either as free water or as juice or in any other form. Just make sure you are well hydrated, especially for sickle cell anemic patients. Also, when it comes to dry skin, dry legs, dry lips, because chapped lips can lead to cracking in lips, and that can be quite discomforting. You should be well oiled up. You should use your Vaseline or whatever cream that works for you, well oiled up. When it comes to dry eyes are a bit of a challenge, but obviously some interventions like artificial drops are important. Respiratory infections, the standard measures of hand hygiene, early presentation, proper distancing is critical. Patients who have allergy must avoid the triggers of those allergy. People with asthma must hold their inhalers, whatever, are they on steroids or are they on beta agonists, as the case may be. These are two groups of general drugs that are used for asthma. So they need to have their inhaler handy. They should always, if you have an inhaler you are using, you should have a backup inhaler that is on reserve. Because if this one gets missing or gets exhausted, you should have something on hand. And definitely if you have any health problem, please present early to a health facility. I do know that many Harmattans have come and gone, and even this one will go one day.
Okay, many thanks for that advice, Dr. Agbor, and coming on Health Options as usual.
Thank you for having me. It's always a pleasure, like I said.
Let's stay abreast with nature on our Nature's Corner next.
We want to today look at how we can get local mosquito repellents within the home setting. And a number of them are here displayed. And we will now be explaining to you the various ways this can be gotten by yourself in that home setting. Here, we have the red onion, the popular red onion, which we are likely to use the back, the peels. We peel them and then aggregate them together, put them in a boiling water. We can cover them for a few hours and then filter it, discharge it in a container that has a spraying adapter, and you spray it all around your area. As soon as the mosquitoes smell it, they will run away, very, very far away. Then we have lavender oil, mixing it and dropping it with vanilla oil, 4 drops, and then 1 teaspoon of lime. Mix it, add hot water, discharge it into a container that has a spraying cork. It will do the function of drive. In fact, when they smell it, they will never come near. They talk of even biting. You repel them away. Then we have neem oil. Neem oil has the same effect, the same way that onion oil does. So these are the various types of onion oils that do this work. I have mentioned to you neem oil. I have mentioned to you onion oil. It is mixed with boiling water, and then you filter it and put it in a bottle that has a spraying cork. And once you do that, the mosquitoes react instantly, and they will disappear from the area you don't want them. This is vanilla, which we said you add 4 drops when we talked about lavender oil, vanilla, and lime, your own lime, the lime you know, into hot water. And then you just filter whatever off, and then you get the liquid, and you use a sprayer to dispense the liquid around you. Others are lemongrass, which everybody knows. You either plant it and bring it very close to the entrance to your house. As they grow there in their own container, the smell alone keeps the mosquito off. You can also dry it halfway. When you dry it halfway, you can put it in a container, light your light, put light on it. As it's burning, the smoke also drives mosquito. In similar way, scent leaf can be dried halfway. The smell you get out of it does the same thing. Mint leaf has some very powerful kind of odor that mosquito cannot stand. Even some people plant them within the house, and once you do that, within that vicinity, you don't find the mosquito. A practical one of it drives both rats, mosquitoes, and cockroaches. You can cut cucumber and put baking soda on its top and scatter it all over in your place. Mosquitoes will run away, cockroaches will run away, rats will just disappear as if they are migrated.
This is where we draw the curtain on this week's episode of the program. Remember to always take care of your health. It's been a pleasure having you with us as always. Join us again next week for more health insight and discussions. Meanwhile, you can watch these and previous episodes of the program on YouTube at NTA Networks, where you can also leave us your questions, comments, and suggestions. I am Salwa Khalil Ibrahim. Bye for now.